On June 1, 2009, a modern, reliable passenger aircraft disappeared over the Atlantic Ocean. There was no distress call, no explosion, no warning that a catastrophe was about to happen. Air France Flight 447 simply vanished from radar. There were 228 people on board. The flight departed from Rio de Janeiro to Paris, operated by an Airbus A330. The early phase of the flight was uneventful. The aircraft was stable. The pilots were performing routine tasks. But over the Atlantic lies a region well known to pilots, the Intertropical Convergence Zone. Here, massive storm systems form, towering clouds that can stretch for kilometers and challenge even modern aircraft. Flight 447 was heading straight into one of them. The storm, when everything changed. The pilots attempted to avoid the worst of the weather, but conditions shifted rapidly. The aircraft entered turbulence. Icing began. Then came the failure that triggered everything. The pitot tubes, the sensors that measure airspeed, became blocked by ice. These sensors are critical. Without them, the aircraft cannot reliably determine its speed. As the data became inconsistent, the autopilot disengaged. Suddenly, the aircraft was under manual control. Inside the cockpit, critical moments. At that time, the captain was resting. Two younger pilots were flying the aircraft. After the autopilot disconnected, alarms began to sound. Warnings, alerts, conflicting information. The pilots were suddenly overwhelmed. Most critically, they no longer knew their true airspeed. One of the pilots instinctively pulled the nose up, as if trying to climb. That decision proved fatal. The aircraft entered a stall. A stall doesn't mean a sudden drop. It means the wings lose lift. The correct response is to push the nose down to regain speed. But that didn't happen. Loss of control. The nose remained high, while the aircraft continued losing speed. The warning sounded repeatedly, "Stall, stall." But the pilots didn't understand what was happening. Confusing instruments, stress, and overload led to fatal misinterpretation. The captain returned to the cockpit, but by then, the situation was already critical. The three pilots failed to coordinate effectively. It was unclear who was in control. Meanwhile, the aircraft continued descending. The end. 3.5 minutes. Flight 447 fell toward the Atlantic Ocean for more than 3 minutes. This was not a sudden crash, but a long, irreversible descent. The nose remained too high. Speed was insufficient. The aircraft was still in a stalled condition in its final moments. At 2:14, it impacted the ocean. All 228 people on board were killed. The search. Answers years later. After the crash, a massive search operation began. Debris was found, but the main wreckage and black boxes remained missing. It took 2 years. In 2011, they were finally located nearly 4,000 meters below the ocean surface. The black box data revealed the truth. What caused the disaster? Not a single failure, but a chain reaction. Icing of the pitot tubes. Unreliable airspeed data. Autopilot disconnect. Pilot misinterpretation. Failure to recognize the stall. The aircraft systems functioned, but the most critical system failed. Human decision-making under stress. What did the passengers experience? This is difficult but important. The aircraft did not explode. It did not fall instantly. Passengers likely felt turbulence, then a long descent. The cabin may have been dark, movements increasingly unnatural. But experts believe the final moments happened quickly. The lesson: Air France 447 was not a failure of technology. It was a warning. Even the most advanced systems mean nothing if the human mind cannot interpret what's happening. Aviation is now safer than ever, partly because of this tragedy. But the story remains a reminder. Disasters are not always caused by one big mistake, but by many small ones. And when they align, there is no way back.